Alright, welcome back to Beck. So, originally, the video I was going to do was we were taking my son's car to have a tune added to it. And this is how it went.
Ooh, 1%. Yeah, it's a slow write. Some tune installed. I started. Press Y to disconnect.
That's pretty much what it did before.
Yeah. That's a problem with the ECU. Has to be.
And since that didn't pan out, figured, well, it snowed, so we'll have some fun. We'll go to the farm, get the snowmobile out, go around the field, have a good time. And we run into this. Go get a wrench. Alright, fed some fuel down in the cylinders.
Sucking fuel.
Alright, I got a test for spark. See any on that one. Swap the other one. I don't see spark there. So since somebody had a question about his power steering pump setup, that's what the video is going to be about. So here you go. So my son's going to talk about his car and what he had to do to be able to swap the 2.4 into it.
So what I ended up doing was getting with Tim Coakley and getting some parts off of him. All we needed to really do to the harness was extend the coolant temp sensor. So it's normally on the side of the block with the single overhead engines, and it's actually right over here on the 2.4s. This is an SRT4 intake manifold, stock radiator for the 03 Neons. It is a aftermarket throttle body. I forget what size it is. You do need to use a couple 2.4 sensors like your idle air control valve. Other than that, it's relatively bolt-in. You're going to need for the power steering pump the PT Cruiser engine bracket for the mounting on this side. Power steering line, you cannot use the 03 Neon lines. You have to use a 2002 PT Cruiser power steering line that mounts on the bottom of the reservoir. It's hard to tell, but it's that smaller line right there. That one. It goes to the power steering rack. It routes from the rack all the way underneath the oil pan. It doesn't get tucked up. Routes underneath the oil pan against the engine. And it makes a couple bends to the reservoir there. It's relatively straightforward with that. I was able to use the 03 mounts as well for the Neons. Apart from lengthening the coolant temp harness for the sensor and the throttle bracket, you have to modify your throttle bracket. For the throttle bracket, what we did was we originally tried the stock throttle bracket, which you can use. You need to trim a little bit, but I did not set it up correctly, so we ended up having to make our own. Works out really well. You're going to need PT Cruiser heater core hoses as well. You can't use the Neon heater core hoses. I was originally going to use Crowder Stage 4 cams in this, and we had an issue with it, so I just put the stock cams back in. A lot easier to use the stock cams and try and work around with the upgraded cams. chassis that we use is a 03 Dodge Neon SE. I did the engine swap because I decided to play around with it, and I snapped the engine mount, and since I had to pull the engine anyways to fix the engine mount, I just went the route of the 2.4. The body has 170,000 miles on it. The engine has 130, so they're relatively close. I'm actually due here for an oil change. I've only gone about 1,000 miles, but I prefer to do it relatively early to clean the system out. We didn't really have to change suspension or anything. The only thing that we really changed was the engine. And I bought it with no muffler. I need to fix that. You're going to need a 2.4 liter exhaust manifold for the Neons if you're going to do a turbo swap. Otherwise, a first gen dual overhead cam header will work, or even just the stock 2.4 PT Cruiser exhaust manifolds will work. And currently I have the cheap eBay shorty header on there as a it'll work for now type deal. I have an exhaust on the way for it. Other than that, I believe it was just straightforward. We were able to use the original transmission out of the car, original clutch. We were able to use the original flywheel. Had to use PT Cruiser, I think it's 03 and up fuel injectors if we didn't want to do anything with the pump and dropping the tank and all that. Apart from that, it was relatively straightforward. It's just the whole up and down game with trying to get things apart and together. Most of the parts that I get for any of the swap or any performance stuff I get through Modern Performance for it. I've upgraded the headlights and I upgraded the taillights with it. Other than that, the car sits as is. These headlights, they are okay, but they're not exactly what I was hoping they'd be. So, yesterday we went to go tune it with Tim Coakley, and unfortunately the computer that is tunable has an issue. In the 2003 Neons, no matter what model it is, you cannot mess with the computer, so you do need to get a different computer for it. An 04 computer is the one that I bought, and it has an issue internally with it, and in 04 and 05 the computers are able to be tuned and messed with, but 03 it's a little bit different and you can't mess with it.
So that's going to be the video. Like I showed you, tried to do a couple other things, didn't work out, so somebody asked a question about this, so I figured might as well do this, because actually he's headed back down to North Carolina. So that's it. Thanks for watching.